Yeah, what's happening? We about to bring that action. Gotta hold it down for my Seattle Kraken. Hey, we going beneath the waves. We going beneath the waves. Get it hype, step onto the ice. Ready for some action. Release the Kraken. Hey, we going beneath the waves. Going beneath the waves.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into the Beneath the Waves podcast, your weekly recap of all things Seattle hockey and beyond. I'm Matt.
I'm Derek.
And I'm Alex.
And we are without Heather this week, but if you need your Heather fix, just take a look back in your feeds a couple days and give her PWHL update from a few days ago a listen so you can get caught up on everything that has gone on with PWHL Seattle before the PWHL Draft. We are now on episode 33 of the BTW pod, and we have a really unexpectedly loaded show this week. We have an exciting addition to the Kraken roster that we're going to talk about. We will chat about how we are now one squid lighter, and we're going to take a look back at the history of the Seattle Kraken at the NHL Draft ahead of the draft on June 27th. So, gentlemen, as I mentioned before, we had some very exciting news break on Thursday when it was announced that Jason Botterill made a trade with the Dallas Stars. This trade sent our 2025 fourth round pick and our 2026 third round pick in exchange for forward Mason Marchment. In his NHL career, he has played 302 games between the Maple Leafs, Panthers, and Stars. And in this most recent season, he had 22 goals and 25 assists in 62 games, along with a goal and 5 assists in 18 playoff games. So before I get your thoughts on this, we did reach out to the BTW fam on Twitter to see how they're feeling about the signing. And here's what a few people had to say. Jess wants to read, says, ecstatic to see him in Kraken colors. He's going to make a strong impact from the beginning. Paul D. Cronin said, if they're still in it by Thanksgiving, they'll be ahead of last year. So looking all sunshines and daisies right there. Thrashman10 said, nice get, especially for the price. Still think they need more skill and playmaking. I like this one. Rob Cutmore said, he always pissed me off when we played against the Stars, so I think I will like him. I like that outlook rather. S. Bellman 523 said, I like that we didn't give up a ton for him, and I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about that. Brett Lepkowski said 100 combined points in his last two seasons, coming into the final year of a $4.5 million deal. He comes to Seattle with something to prove on a contract year. And lastly, Puck Eye Hockey says, yes, we need an agitator, scorer, and a little bit of chaos to shake things up. So now that we've heard from the people, I personally don't know a whole lot about this guy. I've been trying to do some reading, but I'm really curious how you guys are feeling about this move. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
I'll go. So in regards to this deal, I absolutely love it. Recently, when we were talking just amongst all of us, just in the DMs, I was kind of hinting at the fact that I kind of thought the Kraken might do some type of movement. I thought, maybe with Dallas, maybe Robertson. I just got the wrong player. Mason Marchment is a player that the Kraken need. He is feisty. He can drop the gloves when he needs to. He can hit. He can piss you off. But he can also score, and he also can get assists. The fact that he managed to get 22 goals and 25 assists in the 62 games is quite impressive. It would put him fourth in Kraken points in the team this season or the previous season, which is a statement nonetheless, because everybody else played like 70, 80 games. And the fact that Marchment would come in with the fourth highest point total is a statement. I know he played with the Stars, but I'm still going to say it's pretty impressive. The way that Botterill did this, like I'm still not fully on the Botterill train. Like, don't get me wrong, he's done some cooking, but like he did.
Pardon
good.
you,
He did
sir.
good.
Pardon you, sir. How are you not on board the train after this week that we just had? We haven't even talked about all of it.
I know, but I need to see what happens at the draft. I need to see what happens at free agency before.
There's no appeasing you.
Whatever. but like honestly, this gave me like a Bjorkstrand type deal. Like the fact that we were able to pick up such a high quality, talented player for next to nothing. Like the Dallas Stars got their draft pick back, and then we traded off a third round pick 2 years from now. Like that's fantastic asset management. And, I have to give that one to Botterill, because I was a little skeptical nonetheless when they hired him, because it felt like one of those types of hirings that you're like, really? Really? But you know what? First trade, I'm impressed by it. I'm pretty happy with it. And yeah, I think he's going to come into the team. There's been a lot of people, on the Twitterverse have been saying, he's kind of like that third line guy. I think he can slot maybe top line, even second line. Like, I really do. He's that type of player that can put the puck in the net, can be a playmaker, but it can also piss you off. So if you want to, protect, maybe a Matty Beniers, maybe a Jared McCann, a Shane Wright, bang, Mason Marchment, everyone. Put him on that line. I'm sure he's going to do something, not only put the goals in, not only assists, but he's going to beat the face off of you.
Yeah, I love this move too. He's a big guy. He brings a presence with him. He's not afraid to fight. He's not afraid to be scrappy. He is exactly the type of forward that we should bring in, especially, we're going to get to talking about Burakovsky later, especially to substitute for a guy like that. I mean, it's just worlds apart. I've been super happy watching highlights of Marchment, and Alex, you've been wanting a star for a long time. We finally got a star, a Dallas star. So just wanted to just wanted to say that. But yeah, I'm,
Bravo.
I'm really I'm really I'm really happy here. We took advantage of a Dallas Stars team that needed to clear cap desperately. They still need to clear cap. But yeah, so these are the types of moments when you're able to get really, really good deals. And I'm glad that we were able to take advantage of one because there aren't an infinite amount of these, right? There's only so many teams that need to clear so much cap. So I'm glad we jumped in early. I mean, right after the Stanley Cup final. So really awesome stuff to see. JBots has my complete trust. President Ron Francis has my complete trust. I don't know what it'll take to appease Alex over here, but I'm grinning. I'm grinning.
So Alex drew the comparison of this being like a Bjorkstrand type trade. So I would think that we'd have like three top tier trades in Kraken history. We have the Bjorkstrand one, we have the Kakko one from last year, and now we have this one. If you were to power rank these three, obviously we don't have a lot of frame reference for Marchment yet because he hasn't played, but just maybe on like promise alone, where would you slot these?
So for me, I think I'm going to put Kokko first, because the fact that you're able to get a top 5 draft pick for Will Morgan is mic drop, chef's kiss. Like, boy, you were cooking. It's kind of hard to kind of see what, because the way I look at it, like, you were able to basically steal Bjorkstrand from Columbus for next to nothing, and then you were able to flip him, at the deadline last year for some good draft picks. So
Mikey Asimont, baby.
Mikey Asimon, and then some first rounders. So like, I'm happy with that. I still think I'm gonna put Mason Marchment on the second tier. Like, number 1 is Kakko, number 2 is Marchment, number 3 is Bjorkstrand, just because I think Marchment is something that the Kraken need more. All he could do, the goal scoring and the playmaking, but he didn't have that level of shit disturber. It's the only way I can say it. That's Mason Marchment for you. Like, he adds that extra level to what the Kraken need. We don't have one of those guys, and now we do.
I think that's definitely true. I think Marchment brings a lot of versatility, and he is over 30, but I'm not willing to send him off yet. I think he still has a little bit of potential in him. I actually did want to read this tweet out for you guys. This is from George C. Kraken. He said, "We are just one more middle six forward away from continued playoff success." What do you guys think? What's your guys' reaction to that tweet?
Is it bad to say that, like, I don't mind the whole middle six aspect? Like, I would love like a top end talent, but like, when the Kraken made the playoffs, we just had a bunch of good, solid, like, middle tier players that,
We had a middle 12.
yeah, like, you had 4 good lines. Like, you could throw your fourth line out, and they're like, oh, this could be a second line on any good given team, but it's your fourth line. Like, if you do something like that, like, I
Yeah,
can't
having
really,
depth.
yeah, there's
Depth is
depth.
good.
Like last
Depth
season
is
we didn't
good.
have depth.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, oh yeah, we're gonna throw our fourth line out. Oh, okay. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
when
expect
when
much.
we're able to acquire like this is a solid depth piece on any team in the league for cheap and for literally no like a draft pick or two, like that's a really good deal.
But like, also with Marchment, like, when you look at the Kraken lineup, he could slot in on the first line, the second line, or the third line, in my opinion.
100%.
And
Obviously, the
that's
Kraken are really bad, so Marchment's going to be a really good player. But like even on a good team, Marchment's going to be a solid player for you. So I'm
I
not
think Marchment
complaining.
was playing third line minutes with the Stars, but I think at times he played second line minutes. I'm not too sure, but like his points, his goal scoring and his assist totals, you don't really need to say anything otherwise. Like he can produce.
Yep.
So just to close out the Marchment side of things, to Derek's point before that he's over 30 years old, I'd like you to know that he is 4 days over 30 years old. So just maybe like
He's
let the
getting
guy
up
have
there.
let the guy have a happy birthday and enjoy just cresting over to his 30s because you'll be there before you know it, my guy.
Happy birthday.
What day did the trade drop on? Was that on
Was
Thursday?
it literally his
Friday?
birthday?
No, his birthday was on Wednesday, and I think the news came out
That
on
was the
Friday.
day after. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
they waited.
Yeah,
Wait,
he was hung. He was
did
hung
we
over,
trade
and his
Borgen on
phone
his
rang,
we
and
traded
did we
Borgen on
trade
his
Borgen on
birthday.
his birthday?
Borgen on his birthday. This guy 2 days
Oh
after
my
his birthday.
gosh.
There's a method to cracking upper office management's madness. All right, but J Bots wasn't done here. Cut to Saturday morning. It's 8:30 a.m. my time. I'm half asleep, laying on the couch, and I feel my phone buzz. I roll over and I see a TSN news alert saying Seattle Kraken trade Andrew Burakovsky in a deal with the Chicago Blackhawks. And I tell you now, I don't think I have ever gone from 180 degrees horizontal to sitting completely upright so quickly. Burky is heading off to play with the Blackhawks in exchange for center Joe Volano. We said for weeks and weeks that we can't imagine anyone wanting to take on that Burakovsky contract. But here we are, and newsflash, Chicago is taking 100% of the 2 years. There is nothing being retained on our part. Uh, I I'm still, it's 48 hours removed and I'm still gobsmacked by this. In terms of Volano, yeah, he played 74 games between the Canadiens and Blackhawks last year with 8 goals and 9 assists. And he has 1 year on his contract next year with a value of $2.275 million. And then he is an RFA. So once again, we put out the call to the folks on Twitter seeing what they thought about it. S. Bellman 523 again said, Bots is cooking, y'all. It is a new era. Leave It to Butler said, it's a good trade considering Veleno is a younger, cheaper, and managed to move Burakovsky without buying or retaining. Maybe Veleno hits our system and flourishes. David Musgrave 3 says, love it. This might be the best move the Kraken have ever made. Who cares about the return as long as the contract is off the books and they don't have to retain any? Botterill is killing it so far. Now find us some goals. And lastly, Kaiju C said, very good on this one. Squid get 3-ish million in cap space, and Veleno is a restricted free, and Velena is a restricted free agent at the end of the season. The Burky experiment didn't pan out. Both sides needed a new start. I give this an A. So, like I said before, we're 48 hours removed at the time of us recording this. I am still stunned by this. I'm excited for what this move maybe means to the future. What are we feeling?
Well, I mean, this trade combined with the other one that we just talked about, both of these moves, just this one especially 10 out of 10. I have chills. Like the Kraken are moving in a positive direction for the first time in a while. Like it's just it's good to see, like for multiple reasons. Like seeing the trade graphic and just seeing one name on each side with there's no draft picks, there's no retained salary. I was so happy. Like Joe Valeno could have been it could have been like Matt. It could have been anyone. I would have been like, let this is the greatest trade of all time. We're not paying Valeno like any no offense to you, Matt. I'm sure you're great at
Oh,
hockey.
dude, I can't skate
Uh,
backwards to save my life. I take no offense whatsoever.
just like Matty Beniers. Anyway, so I mean, Valeno, he's making what 2.275 mil, so barely any cap hit. We don't have to give up any picks. We get rid of Burky. It wasn't working out here. He was just injured all the time, and it just was not a good situation. Things were getting toxic. Burky needs a clean slate, needs to move on. Love Burky. Hopefully he does good over there. And Valeno obviously not really much of an anything burger, but again, clearing like 3 mil plus in cap for no cost is just amazing. One really good way I've seen it summarized is basically just that we basically upgraded Burakovsky. It's like saved a little bit of money and then like basically just for a third and a fourth round draft pick. That's all we had to pay. And so brilliant two moves by J Bots. Like I said, he has my complete trust. Amazing guy. Great start.
I want what Kyle Davidson's smoking because I don't know what general manager looked at Andrew Burakovsky, Bubble Boy Burky, and was like, "Yeah, I will take on that $5.5 million contract in full, no draft picks. We'll give you a player, and we'll call it even." Like Matt. I wasn't sitting on my couch. I was actually like in the strawberry field picking strawberries with my family, and then my phone went off, and I'm pretty sure I threw like an entire bushel of strawberries. I was like, wait, what? Because like realistically, when you see that, you're like, okay, there's a catch to this, right? Like, okay, what are we retaining? Like, what draft pick did we give up? And then you find out it's a 1-for-1. Like the fact that we're getting, a 25-year-old center who is on an expiring contract that's making 2.275 million, who has been noted could be a potential buyout candidate. So, make a little bit notes on that if you will. It's I'll give it to Botterill on this one. The man cooked. The man put his chef hat on and said, "Okay, we're going into Hell's Kitchen and we're gonna just absolute fire." And he just sent out an absolute banger and Michelin star on that because wow. Yeah, I never thought it was possible. We talked about it week in week out last year, being like, okay, do you offer the bubble with Burky to get this deal going? And like the bubble was like a first round pick. Like, is it like a second round pick and a third round pick? Nobody's taking this contract. And the fact that the Blackhawks were like, we'll take it. Like, okay. So it's like it's a given at this point that he's going to start producing like Ryan Donato, and just absolutely like the world on fire. At the end of the day, love Burky, just contract sucked and was riddled with injuries. But the fact that we were able to get out of it with very, very, very next to no casualties whatsoever in any sense of the world is truly remarkable. I'm impressed to say the least. So, yeah, I'm interested to see what happens next because there's a couple things that could happen before the draft, and that has me excited. We have mentioned buyouts that could happen. We could see it with Villeneuve. I know we spoke about it about Burky. Could happen with Grubauer. And then, free agent frenzy and the draft. So I definitely think there's some other tradable pieces that could happen. And I think Botterill's not done yet. I definitely am looking at someone like Jamie Olesiak, where, defensively, the free agent market sucks this year. And someone might actually want to get Jamie Olesiak. So that's another name to look at, but I'm going to let him cook. Yeah. Still not 100% confident in the guy, but like I'm gonna let him cook.
Okay, first, Alex, I love seeing you and management together. It's a beautiful relationship. Second of all, Alexiak moving would be way, 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 way too good. So I think we just got to settle with this. I was thinking that too. Like if Alexiak can move, that would literally be like our dreams. But oh man, I hope so. But
give me a Jamie Olesiak and a Grubauer buyout, and I will run down my main street butt ass naked, screaming Jason Botterill is a god to man.
all right.
All right. Well, we don't need that visual, but one thing I want to
You're
wrap
done.
around here, like we talked about, like the salary not retention and all that kind of stuff. But I think there's uh the interesting piece in here is Villeneuve because he is an NHL level, like slot him in at the fourth line center. But for next year, I think a lot of what we're sitting on here could be is Berkeley Catton able to make the jump to take that fourth line spot because he is in a position similar to how Shane Wright was, where he's too young to play in the AHL. So he's either doing NHL or he's back with Spokane. Those are like his two options. So like Mike Benton, I remember he was the one that tweeted out that a buyout might be happening or that like could be on the books. You never know. But I like it kind of as a security blanket piece where we're like, okay, this Berkeley Catton kid, he's awesome, but he's not quite there yet. Give him his 20th year to, or like 20-year-old WHL year to keep lighting that league on fire. Give Villeneuve that one season that's left on his deal, and then hopefully you can just move Burks back up.
Yeah,
I
it's interesting. It might be something that comes down to like how we see Berkeley perform in this summer. He's going to be at the prospect development camp. So it might be something like that where you literally just are if you're a Botterill, you're literally just watching and seeing, and you have that flexibility with this, which is really cool, I think.
I was thinking about that. Part of me is wondering if this type of movement is just going to give Catton the full year down in the WHL. And you have Villeneuve up here, he plays, and then you determine at where you're at the deadline. Like if you can flip a couple players and then you free up that space. So at the end of the year, with that 7-8 games left in the season, and perhaps Catton's out of WHL playoffs and all that, then you bring him up for those 8 games. I don't know if I wonder if like they're in this position where they're like, we tried it with Shane Wright and we made it was such a disaster of a year for him that we don't want to repeat.
Oh, jumping from team to team to
Yeah,
team.
and that's kind of where
Yeah.
I'm at with that. Like, and like his year was such an oddity, but like I feel with Catton, like give him the extra year. The problem is that he's proven everything he can down in the WHL, and that the only realistic jump now is the NHL. Like he can't go to the AHL. So you're in this weird pickle where he's either going to play fourth line minutes in the NHL for like 8 games and then go down to the WHL, or he's just going to set the WHL on fire. And it's one or the other. I just, for development, I feel like the best, realistically speaking, let him do his training camp up here, send him down to the WHL, let him play in the WHL for the whole year, and then depending on where you're at the end of the season, you bring him up for those 8 games or 7 games at the end of the year.
Yeah, I do remember. I don't know if we've heard anything since then, Matt. I don't know if you know, but I do know from the J-Bots interview. I think that was for like season ticket holders or whatever. The Q&A. He seemed to suggest that Berkeley Catton might be like ready to go like this season.
Dude, if he
I
is, I'm for it.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
like
not,
and that might be a
100%.
thing. Like we might want Berkeley like on the team like for his value. But yeah, then there is the balance of like the development too. But dude, the numbers he's posting in the WHL, obviously they aren't going to translate 1-to-1 or anything like that. But I think there's a solid chance that he could be ready this year. It seems like Botterill thought that, which I was surprised by.
Yeah. But then the discussion comes up, what if you possibly put him on the wing? He is small. So why don't, like, the consideration could be like, we're not going to play him as a center, we're going to play him as a winger. So then all of a sudden, that discussion comes into play that says, hey, we're going to put him on Shane Wright's wing. Like as a realistic
Yeah,
option.
I'd be
Like
for
you
that.
get rid
Yeah.
of you get rid of Andrew Burakovsky, all of a sudden you have a winger position open. You got Yanni Nyman. Put a line together of Shane Wright, Berkeley Catton, and Yanni Newman. Newman. And
Oh.
let them do their thing. They're all young. This year is going to be, there has been discussions if this year is going to be development year or we're going to go for it. But like, I don't know. I'd be game for it. Why not? Figure it out.
Figure it out. That's our message to Jason Botterill. Figure it out. You're doing a good job. Just keep figuring it out. And our last bit of news here, really, honestly, the biggest piece of news in this entire week. Yeah, Mason Marchment, and Andrew Burakovsky, see you later. We'd be fools not to discuss the most important signing of the week, which is Cale Fleury agreed to terms on a 2-year one-way contract for $890,000. Just wanted to keep everyone in the loop on that. Do we have any thoughts about this? We talked about him a few weeks ago, but also I just wanted to throw out there for those who may be a little unfamiliar like me, could one of you clarify the difference between one-way versus two-way deals and how those shake out?
Yeah, I can explain the whole one-way versus two-way. Thanks, Google. So one-way contract salary, a player on a one-way contract is paid the same salary, whether they are playing in the NHL or have an assignment to an AHL affiliate. The implications, these contracts are typically given to established NHL players or prospects who are expected to be in the NHL full-time. If a player on a one-way contract is sent down, the team is still obligated to pay their full NHL salary, which continues to count against the NHL salary cap, though there might be a small amount of cap relief in some cases This can make it a costly decision for teams to send down a high earning player on a one-way deal. Grubauer. Waivers, players on one-way contracts often require waivers to be sent to the AHL, meaning other NHL teams have the chance to claim them. Two-way contracts, a player on a two-way contract has two different types of salary figures, one for playing in the NHL and a significantly lower one for playing in the AHL. Implications, these contracts are common for young players, prospects, or those who have considered on the cusp of the NHL. It allows teams to move players between the NHL and AHL without incurring the full NHL salary cap if the player is in the minors. Entry-level contracts, all entry-level contracts are actually that are signed are two-way contracts. And waivers, while being on a two-way contract, it doesn't inherently mean a player is waiver exempt. Many players on two-way deals are still in the early stages of their careers and may not yet be subject to waivers based on age or games played.
Sweet. Well, thanks for that. So no thoughts on Cale Fleury, hey?
I'm gonna. So this kind of
Fleury mid.
actually echoes to the whole Jamie Olesiak. Think about it. You have Vince Dunn, Brandon Montour, Josh Mahura, Riker Evans, Cale Fleury, and I'm missing one.
Adam Larson.
Adam Larson. It's easier to pick up a player on a cheaper deal, or maybe someone around like $2 million to be your sixth defenseman. You can free up a lot of cap space with the Jamie Olesiak trade. He's on a one-way deal. He's got to go.
You're also
through waivers.
freeing up the amount of talent and tenacity and
Yeah,
grit and
Jamie
skill that
Olesiak-
Oleksiak brings to the team.
Yeah, of course, because he totally uses that 6 foot 300 frame to bash his opponents into the ground. It's just
All
a
right.
take.
It's a take. Yeah, we'll say that. Again, a very exciting week in Kraken hockey. We can only hope that with the draft ahead and then free agency only, a week away-ish, a week
Yeah.
and a bit, even less than that when you hear this. Uh, Hopefully we get some more super exciting things coming down the pipeline from J-Bots because, as we've been saying, he is cooking right now, and we're all here for it. So, for our main segment of this week, we are going to look with that draft that is right around the corner on Friday, June 27th, with this exciting day coming up and the Kraken having the 8th overall pick once again. We wanted to take a look back at the Kraken's history on draft day. We're going to break down how the last season played out for all of our first and second round picks over the drafts that we've gone through so far. Derek, why don't you kick things off with our first ever pick for the Seattle Kraken?
Yeah, man, absolutely. So everyone should know this, but if you don't, it's okay. If you're a newer fan and you don't know this, it's okay. Our first ever draft pick in our inaugural season was Matthew Beniers, Matty Beniers. And so an update on him. Obviously, he played this year for the Kraken. And to start out this year, I was actually at the home opener, and it surprised me to see that he was wearing an A. Marking him as an alternate captain. And, a lot of us were surprised by that, didn't necessarily like it, but that's what it is, okay? I'm not going to get into that. So he had a lot of expectations on him this year because last year, or sorry, 2 years ago, he didn't have a great season. In his first season, he put up 24 goals and had 57 points, and he won Rookie of the Year or the Calder Trophy. And then in his second year, he had what's known as a sophomore slump, only scoring 15 goals and only 37 points. And so this season, though, he posted 20 goals, got 23 assists, played in all 82 games, but we expect more out of Matty. And it's not enough what he's doing right now for how much he's being paid. He got a contract to start this year that was 7 years at 7.14 mil each year. He did have times this season where he looked better, where he was like mainly when he was with Schwartz and Kakko. But yeah, honestly, Matty is kind of in this very weird spot where he's, I would say, like above average, obviously, but he's expected to be like almost a superstar type, where he's like the heart of the team, but he's just really not that guy, in my opinion. But yeah, and then also of note, he was selected to represent Team USA at the IIHF World Championship at the end of the regular season. What do you guys have to say about Beniers?
So several weeks ago, we did a forward performance review breakdown, and in what I was saying about Matty Beniers was and you kind of alluded to it too there, was Jaden Schwartz and Capo Caco, I think really helped elevate Matty Beniers. He found a crew that he played well with, and the how well those other people played really kind of boosted him up and helped make him work towards being a better player. Like he fell right between that Calder winning season and the slump of the season before. So where growth is always good. It's maybe not the growth that we were hoping for, wanting to see, but the growth is there, and we just hope it keeps building and building and building and building because we got 6 more years of the guy as our the face of our franchise. So we'll see how that pans out.
Not saying that last year was a complete train wreck. He did show signs of brilliance. And echoing what both Matt and Derek said, having Schwartzy and Kako on his line definitely aided and improved his style of play. But I think we definitely need to see more. When you are one of the highest paid players on the team, you need to be putting up much more points. And I think that's what we're going to be needing to see this year, upcoming. Is not just um, a producer in both, goals and assists, but like just an all around leader. Like they've given him that A for a reason. So we definitely need to see him, you know, really improve all the way around and really exceed those expectations because I think we're kind of sitting in that realm where, is he a 40-point player? Is he a 50-point player? We don't know. And could he exceed that? And I think there's a lot of us hoping he could be a 60 or 70-point player or even more. But we have yet to see that since his first season.
Yeah, I think you guys bring up good points, especially, Alex at the end there and then Matt as well. The teammates that you're playing with definitely do elevate your game. And Matty is a kind of, it seems to be support type player. So with better teammates, obviously, I think he'll do better. It's also worth noting that Matty Beniers was the second overall pick in the 2021 draft by the Kraken. All right, so we good to move on? All right, so moving on to our second draft pick that year. This was at round 2, pick 35, and this is Riker Garth Evans, the defenseman. I'm sure you all know him. I'm sure you all love him. And this year he played 30, or sorry, hold on one sec. This year he played 73 games, got 5 goals and 20 assists for 25 points. When we did our performance reviews, I mentioned that Riker, I think, did have a solid season for being this young, especially as he profiles to be a sort of offensive defenseman. It's something very hard to do in the NHL and something that not very many defensemen can do. But he did enter this season after only playing 36 games last season. So he played twice as many games this year. He missed several due to injury and illness and still got twice as many points on the score sheet. Riker was able to put up 5 goals and 20 assists, as I mentioned, beating out his total of 1 and 8 last year. Evans averaged around 20 minutes of ice time per game and spent a lot of that time alongside veteran and cup winner Brandon Montour. While he had flashes of talent this season, there were many instances where he had noticeable flubs, and that's going to be a thing as he ages and develops. So hopefully we see a lot less of that next year. And yeah, he is also a pending RFA this year, so we're going to have to re-sign him. What do you guys think about Riker?
Riker is interesting to say the least because we've seen his moments of brilliance and we know what he can be. And that's, I think, what we have seen is that he can be a top 4, even a top 2 defenseman in the NHL. But we've also seen the completely opposite side where he's either unplayable or could be a healthy scratch. So it's really hard to determine what kind of a player he is. I definitely hope he is, more of that top end type talent. And I think like last season, like when he started off great and he really regressed throughout the season, kind of like with the whole team. But I think he's got something to prove this year because his lack of play at the end of the season is a benefit to us as Kraken fans and Kraken management because they can offer him a contract that's at a lower number. And it's going to be a bridge deal. It's probably going to be 2 or 3 years. Like I think I mentioned that previously. And it's going to be, we know what you can do. You just haven't shown it yet. Here's a deal, a prove it deal, and then take it from there. It's going to benefit us. It's going to give him that little bit of, extra juice to, really prove all the doubters wrong. But Yeah, like I definitely think that there's times that he's been great and there's been times that he's been rough. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do, because I definitely think he's going to be a pivotal piece to the Kraken if they are going to make the playoffs next season.
Yeah, I like the idea of a prove it. We definitely don't need to back the Brinks truck up to his doorstep and shovel out all the money like we did for Matty Beniers and stuff like that. And I just hope that he continues hope he continues to be like a sponge when he's on there with the likes of Brandon Montour, or he played some time with Adam Larson for a little bit. Just take in what he can from other people and try to continue growing and developing and earn himself that juicy payday when it comes around next time.
Okay, perfect. So moving on to our first round pick in 2022. This was the fourth overall pick, and it was Shane Wright. The guy that was slated to go first overall this year, that year. Everyone thought he was going to go first overall. He has that iconic stare down photo with Montreal after not getting picked first overall. Longtime rival Slapkovsky now is just going to be following him his whole career. But after two consecutive seasons of him playing in 8 games, it was finally time for Wright to get a full-time roster spot this year. And really, this year, Shane Wright, just amazing season. And on so little minutes. He barely got to play at all. He was playing like 13 minutes a game, 11 minutes here, 10 minutes this night, maybe 5 minutes. No, he didn't play 5 minutes, but he was understaffed, or he was underused for sure, and he still produced. He had the highest rate of goal and assist production per 60 minutes, so he's going to need an uptick in time next year, and he's going to be really, really, really good. But his journey so far has been a roller coaster. And Heather did break this down in our top 10 storylines episode. You should go listen to that. And that kind of shows how he got here. We were excited at the start of the season when we found out he finally made the roster, and found ourselves met with a lot of anger and frustration at various parts of the year. Whether it was finding out he was scratched to the press box or being demoted to playing fourth line minutes, like I said. We were always wanting more Shane, as he only averaged just over 14 minutes of ice time in a game. He's an absolute stud, a certified stud, as Alex would say. And can hang with the big time players. Next season, I think we'll see a huge uptick in his performance, and I think he's easily, in my opinion, I think he's going to easily surpass Matty Beniers' career in terms of production.
Yeah, I love this dude. There's a reason why we put his name on a t-shirt and threw it in our store, and it flew off the shelves comparatively speaking to our other gear.
And you're wearing
This
it right now.
Yeah, this shirt right here, which is great for an audio medium. Go to bit.ly/BTW store to check out what I'm talking about. Um, I just can only hope that Shane Wright gets like third line minutes at least next year, not getting relegated down. I don't think that this Villeneuve guy is gonna be any threat to bump him or anything like that, but get him some time on the ice. Let him keep developing. Let him keep getting all these goals and points. He was one goal away from winning an extra or earning an extra quarter mil on his bonuses last season. So, if we gave him a few more minutes, he might have made that happen. So fingers crossed that happens. Fingers crossed we get lots of Shane Wright time down the line here. And yeah, I totally am on board with him surpassing Matty Beniers as well.
I still can't believe we actually managed to draft Shane Wright for starters, but yeah, kid can play. Kid can absolutely play. I think he's exceeded Matty Beniers already. And I know some people will argue that, but Matty Beniers last season had, was it 42 points and played top minutes. Sorry, 43 points, but he played top minutes in the NHL last year. Shane Wright didn't. Shane Wright played third line minutes, played, like you said, about 14 minutes a night average, and was exceptional. You put him in, top line role, maybe a second line role, you're probably looking at 60, 65 plus player. And that's just what it is. And not only that, but there has been echoes of how much of a leader he is in the dressing room at such a young age. So realistically speaking, I think Shane Wright is that player. I think he's going to exceed all players that we have currently in the lineup. I think he's going to be that player. I'm not going to throw a superstar. I'm not going to throw out any of that, because like that is yet to be determined. But the way that he comes across really, signifies that if he's given the opportunity, he's going to take it. And we haven't been proven wrong yet. realistically speaking. We've been proven wrong by our coaching staff because they haven't been giving him the opportunities to do so. But when he's given those moments to shine, he really takes advantage of them.
All right, so we're gonna stick with the year 2022, and we're now gonna move into the second round, which we had a lot of picks in the second round of 2022. We had four picks in this round, but our next pick after Shane Wright came in at pick number 35, and this is Jagger Firkus, who this season spent his time with the Coachella Valley Firebirds. He played 69 games, had 15 goals and 21 assists for 36 points. The Firkus Circus rolled into Coachella Valley fresh off a 126-point season in the WHL with the Moose Jaw Warriors, a season where the Warriors made it to the CHL Memorial Cup. This season also had him win the CHL Player of the Year and Top Scorer awards. Prior to the NHL season starting, Firkus put on a Kraken sweater for the first preseason game of the year, but he had a -2 rating. Firkus did have the chance to shine in the rookie faceoff series, where he recorded a goal and 3 assists in the 2 games that the Kraken rookies played. Last season with the Firebirds, Firkus played in 69 games, like I said, had 15 goals and 21 assists for a total of 36 points. He had a great season, but I still think he'll have a hard time making it onto the Kraken roster this upcoming season. He's a small winger, which doesn't always matter, but he needs another year for everyone to really see what he can do and where he can fit in. I'd love to see him continue to grow and flourish in Coachella because he really is a very smart player, and I just want to see more examples of that. Only a few picks after Jagger Firkus, we had someone who we're a little more familiar with because at pick 49, we had Yanni Nyman, who played split time between the Coachella Valley Firebirds and the Seattle Kraken this season. Yanni Nyman is probably one of my favorite stories of this NHL season. After lighting it up in the AHL with Coachella Valley and being named to the All-Star game, Yanni found himself being called up to the Kraken for a stretch of 12 games, making his NHL debut on March 12th versus the Montreal Canadiens. And Yanni did not waste any time scoring in his debut game. Across the 12 games he had in the NHL, Yanni would record 3 goals and 3 assists before being sent back down to the Firebirds so they could prepare for their Calder playoff push. He showed a lot of promise, and we are eagerly awaiting for when he'll be making his way back up. Yanni had an absolutely incredible season with the Firebirds, and they missed him terribly when he was called up. It was very noticeable in our Desert Dialogues week to week how it became much less exciting when his name was not on those scoring recaps. He is fantastic at driving to the net and battling along the boards, and obviously he can score. He showed that when he was up here. I think he has to work on his two-way game for sure and his speed, but I hope we get to see him as a Kraken full-timer sooner rather than later. Personally, I really think that he could slot into a bottom line forward spot. I would really like to see that, kind of fill it in on the cheap and show what he is capable of. I know, Alex, you want to talk about Yanni Nyman for a little bit.
I definitely believe he has the ability to play even third line minutes with the Kraken next season. He has that talent. He has the drive. He has the body to like actually like take out guys. Like we need like that rough type of player that we're really missing, and that's where like even Nyman comes into play here. And he's got a shot. Like he's got a shot that a lot of Kraken players don't have. So I think that's going to be something that's going to be extremely valuable for the team next season. So that's one way to look at it. And yeah, I just think with what we have, he's too good to be wasted away on that fourth line, unless we have like those 4 lines deep where they're playing like healthy 10, 12 minutes apiece. But I don't know. He's definitely outplayed his time in Coachella already, and I think he's got a spot waiting for him with Seattle next season.
So, like I said, we got lots of picks in round two here of 2022. At number 58, we had Nicky Kokko, who was mostly with the Firebirds this season. He did have one little showing with the Seattle Kraken. If you were to ask us at the start of the year which Coachella Valley player would find their way up to the NHL this season, I don't think that Nicky Kokko would be the first one that jumped into our minds. And honestly, we don't think Kokko was expecting it either. During Philip Grubauer's stint down in Coachella Valley, Kokko found himself called up to the team as a backup for Joey Daccord. Midway through the game against the St. Louis Blues, Joey was pulled after surrendering 5 goals through 30 minutes. Kokko was then shoulder tapped and hit the ice for a very short notice debut. Probably not the kind of debut that he was looking for, giving up 2 goals on 6 shots, but it did provide him with a chance to get those first NHL game jitters out of his system and maybe make a smoother transition for him down the road. Kokko was fantastic for the Firebirds this season. However, with a 913 save percentage in regular season and a 921 save percentage in the playoffs, he even recorded a shutout in the Calder Cup playoffs to help the Firebirds move on to round two. He is a young, smart goaltender, and it's going to be very interesting to see how the goalie situation shakes out with the Kraken. We already know, for one thing, it came out, was that, yeah, that was this week, that Alistezka is going to go play over in Europe. So that shuffles things already at the Firebirds level. I don't think it would be a bad thing for him to have another year in the AHL if that's possible. He has some room to grow still, but I definitely think he's up and coming as a franchise goalie for this team.
And to continue on in the 2022 draft, with the 61st pick overall is David Goyette. So Goyette recorded 1 assist during the rookie faceoff tournament and played 12 minutes and 36 seconds in the Kraken's first preseason game. He was a surprise to a lot of people with his 6 goals and 12 assists in Coachella. Just because of how deep the Kraken's pool is, it could take some time for him to crack the roster, but he has serious promise. He's a phenomenal skater and a smart playmaker. He needs to develop a little more in Coachella and give him some more power play time, but I definitely think he'll be a Kraken, just not this season. But definitely a lot of promise, especially during his draft season. So he's definitely a player to look out here. Moving forward to the 2023 draft, in the first round, in the 20th pick, the Kraken selected Edward Chalet. This 2023 first rounder played in 2 preseason games with the Kraken, recording a goal in his second game, which was played against the Edmonton Oilers. Shout out Connor McDavid, and losing another Stanley Cup. In the World Juniors tournament, the captain of Team Czechia recorded 8 points across 7 games and sealed the bronze medal for his team with a phenomenal shootout goal. We were worried they weren't going to put Chalet in the with the Firebirds, but it was where he belonged, and at the end of the day, it was the right decision. He needed those players around him to help elevate his game, and what we saw in his play, he definitely took a serious step forward in his play this season. He needs some more time to develop it, and at the end of the day, I think another season with the Firebirds, he's definitely going to excel with that. This season with the Firebirds, he played in 51 games, scoring 6 goals and 16 assists for 21 points.
So I definitely want to chime in quick here on Chalet. I think like in our grand scheme of when you look at our first rounders, he's definitely kind of the most forgettable of the lot. And I think that's because he was the 20th, and that's not quite as exciting as pick 1 or 4 or 8. But if you want to just take a glance, take a look at the promise that this kid might have, go check out some of his highlights from World Juniors because he was a star for Team Czechia, and especially that shootout goal that won the bronze medal. I remember watching that game and just being thrilled at seeing him be the one to put it away, but also just the type of play that he was playing over that tournament was very exciting to watch.
Moving forward in the 2023 draft, in the second rounder, 50th overall pick was Carson Rehkopf. Played with the Brampton Steelheads in the OHL this season. With them, he played 57 games, 42 goals, 44 assists for 86 points. I was actually fortunate to watch him play here in Kingston against the Frontenacs one game, and he definitely was someone to keep an eye on the ice, even though they got absolutely destroyed by the Frontenacs this year. So at the start of the season, Rehkopf was involved in a massive trade, though, that sent him from the Kitchener Rangers to the Brampton Steelheads. After spending 3 seasons with the Rangers, Carson was traded to the Steelheads in exchange for 10 draft picks. Like, that's how crazy the OHL is. And well, just the CHL in general. And he was named as one of the team's alternative captains, just like that. Rehkopf was selected for Team Canada for the World Juniors, but only played 2 games in the tournament, being healthy scratch for a number of games. Rehkopf donned the Kraken jersey in the second preseason game this year, putting in 11 minutes and 4 seconds of time on ice, but not able to land on the score sheet. The Steelheads unfortunately lost out in the first round of the OHL playoffs, 4-2 against the Oshawa Generals, but Rehkopf put up 7 goals and 1 assist. So following the Steelheads playoff run, Carson was added to the Coachella Valley Firebirds roster. Rehkopf has a dangerous and heavy shot. His forechecking has really improved, so we'll be able to continue to watch him improve this next season. With only 2 games with Coachella, though, it's hard to kind of determine what data points we'll need to look at for him to improve next season, but he's definitely a player to keep an eye on. He has a lot of talent. And hopefully his development with the Firebirds will only continue to excel, and you'll see an NHL player with him in the couple of years. And another second round pick, actually two picks after Rehkopf, in 52nd overall was Oscar Fisker Molgaard, OFM for short. He played with HV71 in the Swedish league. 38 games played, 5 goals, 14 assists for 19 points. This has to be our least informed Kraken prospect on the list, as none of us follow Swedish hockey. So the SHL has a league system where the bottom teams in the league need to play down to see who gets relegated to the lesser league. That's the position that HV71 found themselves in, but a streak of 4 wins prevented this move from happening, with Oscar contributing a goal in that game. At the end of the HV71 season, he was recalled to Coachella Valley ahead of playoffs, and HV71 confirmed that he will not be returning next season, clearing the way for him to play with the Firebirds next season. Molgaard ended up playing 7 games with the Firebirds before the team entered the playoffs, where he logged 2 goals and 1 assist. This is where his time in the AHL ended, as he was selected to play for Team Denmark in the WIHF World Championship.
So with him, I feel, yeah, we're pretty uninformed just because like we said, we don't follow Swedish hockey. But I really liked what we saw out of him at that World Championship. He had 10 games played, 1 goal and 6 assists, and that was right up there with some of the numbers that the other Kraken players who were playing in that tournament were putting up. So hopefully with a full slate of a season in Coachella next year, he keeps getting that American or North American exposure and development, and we can see some good things from him down the line. We are very heavy on the second rounders as a Kraken organization. I think that really shows in the future years as well when we look at how things look down the road. But pick 57 was Lucas Dragicevic of the Prince Albert Raiders. Similar to Carson Rehkopf, Lucas Dragicevic had a change of scenery this season when he was traded to the Prince Albert Raiders from the Tri-City Americans. Dragicevic made one appearance at a Kraken jersey during the preseason game during the first preseason game where he logged 12 minutes and 17 seconds of ice time and another bummer -2 rating. His PA Raiders made it to the second round of the WHL playoffs, where they were swept by Gav McKenna and the eventual WHL champion Medicine Hat Tigers. In the 11 games he played in the playoffs, Dragicevic recorded 6 goals and 8 assists, so definitely some good numbers there. He was then reassigned to the Firebirds ahead of their Calder Cup playoffs. Now we move to our most recent draft, looking to last year, 2024, when we had the 8th overall pick, and with that pick, we took Berkeley Catton of the Spokane Chiefs. Berkeley Catton set the WHL on fire this year with very impressive stats through the 2024-25 season, leading him to have back-to-back 100-point seasons with the Chiefs. Catton did see some preseason playing time with the Kraken, with nearly 20 minutes of ice time in their first preseason game, although he was not able to make an appearance on the score sheet. Catton was able to join Kraken prospects Carson Rehkopf and Caden Price on the Team Canada World Juniors team, playing in 5 games and recording 1 assist. Catton had just an incredible season with the Chiefs. The regular season saw him record 38 goals and 71 assists for 109 points in 57 games played. So that's pretty wild. That's almost 2 points per game, which is just awesome. We love to see that. In the playoffs, he played in 20 games and had 11 goals and 31 assists. So again, 42 points in 20 playoff games. He became the first WHL player since the turn of the century to reach 40 points in a single playoff run. This draft pick makes us all look silly when you look back. Go back in our YouTubes. Go to like this. I think it's our very first YouTube video when we made this new crew, the 4 of us, and we did a draft live stream. And we're like, we got it. We're gonna get a defense. This is gonna be awesome. We're building the decor for the future. And they're like, Berkeley who? What kind of a name is Berkeley? But yeah, that makes us all look silly because he is absolutely lighting things on fire in the WHL. And we talked about him earlier on the show too, that we just have to wait and see, does he make the skip over AHL because he cannot play with Coachella next season. Now, moving into the second round, we have 2 picks in the second round here. First up at pick 40 was Julius Miettinen of the Everett Silvertips. His season with the Silvertips was unfortunately shortened this season due to a lower body injury that the forward sustained at the World Juniors tournament while playing for Finland, a tournament which saw his team fall to Team USA in the finals in OT. Oh, that just opened really bad memories of our Zoom backgrounds that Heather whipped up for us when we lost that World Juniors wager.
Oh,
Uh, in the World Juniors, Miettinen played in 7 games and he had 1 goal and 1 assist. He made his return from injury on March 9th, with his last game before that being on December 14th. His Silvertips made it to the second round of the playoffs in the WHL before being knocked out by the Spokane Chiefs in 6 games. In the 13 playoffs games he played, he had 6 goals and 3 assists, so definitely seemed like he made a solid bounce back from that injury. And our last guy here with pick 63 in the 2024 draft, Nathan Villeneuve of the Sudbury Wolves. He made 1 appearance for the Kraken in the preseason opener and recorded the only goal of that game. Villeneuve also made an impact before this in the NHL rookie faceoff when he scored a shorthanded goal and answered the bell for 2 different fights. He was just throwing knuckle sandwiches out to all the rookies that were at that mini tournament, and he was living up to his gritty reputation from the OHL. Villeneuve put up 3 goals and 2 assists in the first round of the OHL playoffs before the Wolves were eliminated by the Frontenacs in a sweep. On April 8th, the Kraken announced that they signed Villeneuve to a 3-year entry-level contract. He joined the Coachella Valley Firebirds shortly after and immediately made an impact, getting into, again, a fight in his first game. So I'm liking what this guy's bringing to the table. Villeneuve is a very physical player and also someone who's a bit of a pest in the best way for us anyway. I think we will see him thrive with the Firebirds next season. It's going to be really fun to watch him grow as he already has a pretty great foundation. So, like we said, the draft is on June the 27th. That is coming up very soon here. That is the day after this is going up that we are recording this. The Kraken have pick number 8. Again, we had a real case of misfortunes of getting the worst possible pick that we could have in the lottery. With that pick 8, what are you hoping that we get out of it?
I think we're all going to say the same thing, and that's a defenseman, but this is the Seattle Kraken. And I know Ron Francis is now a president and not a general manager, but he still has his fingers all over this. And you know that they like to collect centers like infinity stones. So if he's still available at number 8, welcome to Seattle, James Higgins. But honestly, I really do hope we have a defenseman, because if you look at our defensive pool, it's not the best. The depth that we have in forward is impressive. Our defensive depth is lacking, to say the least. So if a defenseman is available, great. But I can't wait to see another center join the ranks of the Seattle Kraken.
Wait, Botterill is also a former player, right?
Possibly. They're all former players here and there.
Do we know? Because Francis was a center, so it makes sense. But do we know
Oh,
what
I
position
like where you're
Botterill
going
was?
here. Hold on.
Okay.
Let me see. He was a left winger.
Okay, well, I think we'll get a left winger then.
Well, we're pretty loaded on left wing with Marchment being added on.
Doesn't matter. It hasn't stopped us in the past.
All right, cool. Well, we'll just have to wait and see how that shakes out. And that's going to do it for this week on the Beneath the Waves podcast. With the draft right around the corner, we'll have to see. Do we get a center? Does Derek get his left winger that he's projecting here based on role history of the upper management? Do we finally get a defenseman? Do we do something wild and trade it away and get something crazy? Then just all of our brains explode. Who knows? That might happen. But next week on the pod, we are going to be recapping all of the NHL draft selections that the Kraken make, break down any crazy moves that happen with the Kraken on free agency, and it's an exciting time. And then we're into a big lull. I don't think we're going to have anything happening for a long time, but maybe we can ride a real high from a juicy free agency signing. But Derek, in our downtime until that next week episode, could you let everyone know where they can find BTW online?
Absolutely. So first of all, I just want to say, make sure to go to bit.ly/BTW store. Matt is impressively donning The Price is Right t-shirt right now. And you need to grab one too. So if you ever see him in real life, you'll be twinning. That's why you need to go get one. Please drop a follow and a 5-star review on the podcast app of your choice, wherever you're listening to this. And please follow us on all socials. We've been putting out lots of short form content on places like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube Shorts. Also, recently we just hit 100 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you so much. It's completely free to you and would make our day. So join us everywhere at BTW SEA. All right. We will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.
We going beneath the waves. Going